Hello and welcome to BioRules video lessons. Today we start talking about cell respiration. Cell respiration is a controlled chemical reactions that are going to be breaking down organic molecules like glucose, releasing energy. It is the way that living organisms manage to use organic molecules for moving themselves. Okay? So, one kind of cell respiration is when we get glucose and transform that into lactate, this lactic acid. That's what we do when we exercise very hard, and for that chemical reaction we release energy. It's an hexagonic chemical reaction used to produce ATP. Another possibility of cell respiration is alcoholic fermentation, when glucose is broken down into CO2 and ethanol, alcohol, and it also releases energy. And this one at the bottom is made by fungus and some bacteria. And the third type is when glucose and oxygen are used to break down glucose into CO2 and water. And in that case, we produce energy, more energy than the ones before. Okay, so those three are the three types of cell respirations that we are going to be studying here. Those two over here, they happen in humans. Let me get my black pen. Yeah, here. So those two here happens in humans. The one on top, lactate, is the anaerobic cell respiration in humans and many other organisms. And this one here in the bottom is the anaerobic cell respiration in bacteria and fungus. And this one, when there's oxygen available, almost every single organism will do this one because it produces a lot of energy. What those three have in common is that it starts with glucose, okay, here, a 6-carbon molecule, and it goes into pyruvate. All those three reactions start with this. We get glucose, 6 carbons molecule. Here I'm showing it open for simplicity, broken down into 2 3-carbon molecules called pyruvate. So this chemical reaction, glucose into pyruvate, is called glycolysis. That means nothing more than breaking glucose. It's the first breakdown of glucose, is when you split glucose in half, and this split in half already provide energy for making no other inorganic reactions like forming ATP, for example. Let's take a look on details of glycolysis. Okay, how does it happen? So first we start with a 6-carbon molecule. So glucose over there. So you know that one. And probably, as you saw before, even hexagonic reactions, sometimes they need to be putting energy to start. Like if you want to burn alcohol, to burn gasoline, you need to give a spark. So the same will happen here with glycolysis. To start glycolysis, we need to give a little bit of energy for the glucose itself. So you're going to be giving phosphate over there, which is, contains lots of energy. That's coming from that hexagonic reaction, ATP becoming ADP, and provides this highly energetic phosphates to the glucose. Now you have an hexose biphosphate. You have 6 carbons with 2 phosphates in there. This step is called phosphorylation because it just added a phosphate into that. Okay? And then we are going to be doing the breakdown itself. When we break down the glucose over there, we have energy from that bond that gets available. So that energy that's available over there is energy enough to glue 2 more free phosphates that are flying around already, not very energetic because they are not coming from an ATP. They are, okay, I'm not very energetic, I gave my energy away, but now the energy is already there. So we can connect this phosphate over there, and then we can connect that phosphate over there as well, and we make a triose biphosphate. We make a triose, 3 carbons with 2 phosphates. These molecules are highly energetic. They have lots of energy in those phosphates over there. So this is an important step into extracting energy from glucose. What we gave, later we are going to be taking back. This step is called lysis, for obvious reasons. It's called breaking down. When you do this lysis, we are going to also release some electrons and protons. So if you release some electrons and protons, then you can have oxidation of this triose phosphate and reduction of an electron carrier. This electron carrier is going to be the famous NAD that we saw in the previous class. NAD becomes NADH plus H, so it receives an excited electron. In this case here, two NADHs plus H's are produced, no, they are reduced by the oxidation of the glucose phosphate, the whatever phosphate there that was broken down. So this step is called oxidation because that molecule was oxidized when it was broken down. It lost electrons. Oxidation is lost electrons and protons, and they gave to the NAD to become NADH plus H. And now we have some phosphates. So what can be also done is that you can use the energy that's there in those phosphates to build ADP into ATP. So ultimately what's going to be happening here is that this phosphate is going to come here, that phosphate is going to be coming there, this one will come here, this one will go there. They go and they take energy with them, ending up making a pyruvate. This step is very simple, ATP formation, because ATP has been formed. And what's left behind after this is two triose, called pyruvate, 3 carbon molecules. These guys now, they are half a glucose, and in this process we have broken it down, and we have already made some energetic molecules. We made 4 ATPs, so let me put over here on the corner, 4 ATPs, but we had started with 2. We gave 2 ATPs to make this start, so we gave 2 ATPs. So overall, what have we done here? We made 2 ATPs. This is the overall ATP production of this reaction, the glycolysis. And we have also made 2 NADH plus H plus. So we made 2 of these electron carriers. So this is the overall production of glycolysis. When we break glucose down into 2 pieces, we make 2 NADH plus H. This is going to be important in the near future. And we also made 2 ATPs. Those are energetic molecules for us to do our chemical reactions. Okay? If this is not very clear because it's a lot of information, go back to the beginning and watch it again, see it again, because this step, tell the story, what's going on. You have a 6 carbon molecule breaking down into 3 carbon molecules, what's going in the middle. Knowing the details of this is very important for the high levels, but understanding what's going on in here, the concept of breaking down and making ATP, making NADH, this is going to be important for the standard levels as well. So if this seems to be a little bit too much, pause and go back again in there. Okay. For the ones that are curious on how these chemical reactions happen, and we just studied the metabolic pathways, this here is the metabolic pathway of glycolysis. So ultimately we have here one chemical reaction that requires an enzyme that's going to be getting an ATP and donating a phosphate over there, another chemical reaction in here, another one in here that gets the second phosphate and makes into a fructose 1,6-B phosphate. Then we can have this going down here, or it can also go sideways and come back here. That depends on some circumstances. And also you have 1 more or 3 more chemical reactions over there. Then you have this going down, releasing already, making 2 NADs. Then you have another chemical reaction here, making 2 ATPs. Then you have 2 more chemical reactions over there. And then you have here 1 more chemical reaction, making more 2 ATPs. So in this one, if you are into this cascades of metabolic pathways, you have, let me put it in blue here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 chemical reactions, maybe 10, 11 chemical reactions for this here to happen. So this is a metabolic pathway of something between 9 and 11 enzymes to be completed. This is glycolysis. If you want to see a little bit closer because you are into molecules, this is how they look like. So if you're a chemistry student, now you can observe the way that they look like, the triose phosphate, how they look like in here. So this is the chemical reactions, and then you have these guys over there who gives the energy and so on, the pyruvate here in the end. So all this, if you are into chemical formulas, have fun with this, okay? So just putting things together, glycolysis is the initial step for all cell respirations. It's the initial step for aerobic, the lactic fermentation or alcoholic fermentation, and also aerobic, the normal, or the anaerobic for lactic or alcoholic fermentation. So both of them are going to be using glycolysis at the beginning. And this chemical reaction happens in the cytoplasm. Okay, it has nothing to do with mitochondria, it's before, and has a net production of 2 ATPs. So when you break a glucose into 2 pyruvates, we produce 2 ATPs. Also 2 NADH plus H, but then using this NADH plus H will depend on other circumstances that ultimately depends on oxygen. So you see this here in a few future lessons, okay? So this is glycolysis. I hope you had fun watching this. And if you feel that you need to know a little bit more before you take the quiz, go ahead, watch it again, make your notes, bring the doubts for class. Let's make a discussion on this so you can have a solid understanding of what's going on in here. Instead of asking you to memorize all the steps of glycolysis that usually people do in college, they are asked to memorize all the stuff. No, let's try to understand the process, what is going on in there. If you understand what's going on in there, even if you forget a few names, that's going to be more important. Okay? I hope you had fun. I'll see you in another class.